Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production. My name is John Acosta. This is May 29th. This is episode 70 of News with a View. For those that have just joined us, not this one, but I went to this camera, and that's a camera I like going to in my opening. This podcast, whatever you want to call it, is about taking the news from independent sources, and I take it from everywhere, from Yahoo to Fox News, from MSNBC to Politico to The Hill, and I try to digest it in a manner that is presentable. I do always take a conservative lean, but I do present the facts. And I will draw a conclusion, and sometimes I agree with the current administrations, and then there are times where I do not agree with the current administration. And I make that fact known if I report it. The best advice I give to anyone that wants to really know what's going on inside the political circle of our news is watch C-SPAN. Really, listen to the talks, listen to the speeches, listen, even though some of the senators and congressmen are speaking to an empty hall, but they're going on record on what they honestly believe and where they want to go. And that's important for people to know. Whether or not it's truthful, whether or not it's allowed, meaning constitutionally, I'm a federalist. I believe in the Constitution. I believe that if it's allowed, and if our robes say what you're doing is legal, have at it. I'm also a believer that you just can't do what you want to do. Doesn't work that way, fellas. It shouldn't work that way. And that goes for Trump. That goes for anyone. That goes for anyone. All right, so now I am going to go to camera 2, my other favorite camera. I have 3 cameras up here. I really only use 2 of them. I have the third one hooked up because I paid for it. And if I don't use it, the wifey gets mad. All right, today, I'm going to do a couple of things. Some Senate Democrats asking for appointees' salaries. Tommy Tuberville, which is an interesting thing that he's doing. State Department notifies Congress of reorganization plan with bigger cutbacks than had previously been stated. The Supreme Court may not step in and save Trump's tariffs. That's an interesting spin, because this is where I kind of agreed and disagreed with what Trump was doing with that. And, of course, a new COVID makes its appearance. So we'll talk about that. All right, so the Democrats have asked the OPM, Office of Personnel Management, for Schedule C employees. See, we're having a thunderstorm here. Under Schedule C, I think they're allowed to be paid up to $192,000, but they're allowed to go over that if they get certain approvals. So there are senators, of course, Democratic senators, that are asking to see these appointees' salaries. These are lower level appointees that do not have to go through the Senate confirmation hearings. So the OPM, Essel's memo back about this, said that Schedule C hires are very frequently involved in customer-facing roles such as constituent service works. So these are the people that roll out and might explain to governors and legislators what the administration is up to and what their plans are and how their plans fit into the state's plans and or things like that, and also just go and meet with political leaders. So it's always been a murky area where you're going to put people in that are going to be supportive of you. It's just the way it goes. You're not putting in people there that are going to be fighting with you every step of the way. So there's about a dozen of these, or 24 of these, or more. And I actually think it was they were asking about 5 people that were in these type positions. That hey, we want to know what are they getting paid, and that's their right to ask that question. I don't think that is an off base, but I think that what the current administration is, that information is already out there. You don't have to ask us for it. You know where to look for it. And this is just people doing what they're supposed to do. Kick the tires. So to me, it's not a big deal. It's a silly thing for the Democrats to be doing. But they got to do something. I mean, what they've been doing has been absolutely terrible, and really doesn't make much sense. Screaming, yelling, cursing. You got Bruce Springsteen out there, and then you have Jimmy Kimmel the other night, with, well, Bono, are you for Trump or are you against Trump? Are you for Bruce Springsteen or are you against Bruce Springsteen? I mean, really, Kimmel. All these talk shows are horrible. I don't care what side of the table they're on. On those type of formats where they're supposed to be comedies and comedians and poking fun and but not going out there and doing a political half-hour show. That's ridiculous. On that same front, you still have, but it's not as bad. You see the rhetoric has slowed down a bit with Warren, and that's Elizabeth Warren, Senator Warren, calling any settlement with Trump as being a bribe. Yeah, I got a major problem. See, she can't be sued. And she knows it. She can come out with all this crazy stuff. She knows she's on sacrosanct ground. Can't be sued. But where she should be brought up on is malfeasance of the job, of her job. there is no quid pro quo by Trump saying, if you pay me, I'm going to make the sale of CBS go through. I think the FCC is going to have some say and some pull with that. It's just another one of these crazy Democrats and going off on something they really shouldn't even be going on. Is it newsworthy? Of course it is. Trump suing a major network again. He sued ABC, and ABC settled with him for what, 15 million or something, 25 million, whatever it was, and they settled with him. And they're allowed to. It's a civil suit, and you could, instead of it going to court, you can come to an agreeable set of terms, and it's done. To say that CBS is being squeezed because of the sale to Skydance or that is totally a misrepresentation. That this is why Trump is suing them, because he knows they're in a vulnerable position. Sherry Redstone wants it sold, and iced tea, not whiskey. I wish it was whiskey. Can't drink whiskey like that anymore. So the Democrats again yiping like puppies, yiping, and the Republicans yiped, and this is just goes hand in hand with politics. But what the Democrats are doing is just foolish. Serves no purpose other than hearing themselves and seeing them on the news. The other big news that I'm going to go is the Tommy Tuberville is not going to run for his Senate seat, but instead it's going to run for the governor of Alabama, who's Ivy is not going to seek another term. Well, he would be, but he's term limited. You can only serve so many times. So this is the second Republican so far, other than Mitch McConnell, who said they're not going to run again. Their seat's going to be open. And Tuberville probably is the most staunch Republican in the Senate. So Steve Marshall, who's the Attorney General right now of Alabama, said that he has expressed a desire to look into running for that seat. So it will be interesting. I'm sorry, the allergy season down here is just going on and on and on. And I've never, in the almost 20 years of coming here and being here in South Carolina, have ever had such allergy reactions. And I keep being told, put these suppressors in your ducts and everything. It's such a huge house, it's not going to work. So Tuberville, where we lose a really strong senator, time for a change. I mean, Tuberville is 70 years old, which, I don't consider old, but time to let some young blood go in there and start shaping things up because, you know, Donald Trump, you know, yes, Democrats, he's going to run for a third term. Donald Trump isn't going anywhere. I love telling that to staunch Democrats. You better get ready for him for 2028 because he's coming back. And they all scream and yell, and scream at me about the 22nd Amendment. And I said, that will just go to the side of the road like birthrights. And then they get all crazy. It's like taking a stick and hitting a wasp nest. You shouldn't be shocked when when all of a sudden, the wasps, they're defending themselves somehow. No. Trump is not going to run for a third term, no matter what he tells you, and he's laughing, and he's gaslighting you. But Vance will run, and Vance will need some young blood with him, and I think they're making room. Certainly, a senator seat is way more important on a national front than a governor's seat, but Tuberville likes the idea of being governor. Will probably make a very good governor if he wins it. If he wins it. Remember, you got to win it. Nothing's a guarantee. Just ask Harris. This will be interesting to see what goes on with Tuberville and Marshall and see how this works. Now, other thing in the news, State Department notifies Congress of reorganization plans with bigger cuts to programs and staff. So, Marco Rubio said there's going to be a steeper 18% reduction of staff in the U.S. The plan changes detailed notifications and letters obtained by the Associated Press and reflects the Trump administration push to reshape American diplomacy and scale back the size of the federal government. So I think there was an 15% reduction floated around, and now it's going to go to 18 and probably going to go higher. The department also is planning to eliminate some divisions tasked with oversight of American 2 decades involvement in Afghanistan, including an office focused on resettling Afghan nationals who worked alongside the U.S. military. Now, this is where I take real exception to. Because these were people that were friendly to our government. For whatever the reason was. I don't care what the reasons were, as long as they weren't terrorists infiltrating or something like that. But these were people that helped us. And now the Afghan government can turn sideways, and these people might not be safe. And we're going to go to other countries where we're going to ask the locals to come join us. And one of the things that we had to always do with locals that joined us is tell them, hey, if things get too hot here, you're going to come to America if you choose. I'm going to skip you over the line and bring you right in. That's where I said there were always certain classes of qualifications that got you skipped over lines. That's one of them. And the idea that now we're not going to do that, there are still people over there that we need to take care of. So, this is going to take place. This is the plan. And Rubio believes that effective modern diplomacy requires streamlining this bloated bureaucracy. Well, I'm sure it is bloated. And I'm sure a lot of it had to do with USAID, where there were people inside the administrations that their only job was to steer money and to find new ways to steer money that were not aligned with what Trump wants it aligned with. Now, when it was aligned with President Biden's agenda, it was perfectly fine. And that's the way this works. This is how an administration works. You know? So, again, this shouldn't be anything new. Where people are concerned is, again, you know, will it hobble us? Not cripple us, but just hobble us. Is that really dollar-wise to do that? Well, that's why he's president, and I'm not. That's why he was elected. And if I ran against him, you know, you wouldn't win. So, again, this is how the administration works. I'm not, and again, I do not lock in step with anyone. I have my exceptions on what this is doing for the local Afghanis, because it's happening there. It's happening everywhere. It's not just happening with them. It's going to happen in Africa. It's going to happen in other countries where we have military people in place that we need local assistance, giving us information, and working with us to strive towards our agenda. And, yeah, you got to take care of those people. You have to. You must take care of those people. Or you're not going to have anyone. Everyone, I'd love to help you, but I saw what they did to that, you know, group of people or that town or that family. Yeah, well, I'm not going to have any of that. So, you could scale back the federal government, but let's not toss the baby out with the wash. But then throw the baby out with the wash water. Let's not do that. And so, the letter to Congress states that the reorganization will affect more than 30 bureaus and offices. Who thought there were that many bureaus? I mean, I don't know. Bureau of bureaus? So they're now going to streamline those organizations. And, you know, you're not hearing too much from Doge and, you know, everyone's saying, Musk is on the outs with Trump and stuff. Yeah. Those sources are the same sources that said Harris will take Iowa by 30 points. Florida is in the bag for Harris. Texas might fall to Harris. Same people. So, I don't trust anything out of the left media. I do report what they say, but I don't trust anything they say. And they report the facts, but they skew the words afterwards towards an agenda that isn't even a good political agenda to be under. I mean, there are stuff that Trump does, under the guise of, I don't get some of the pardons that he's doing, other than it ruffles the feathers of Democrats. And again, you can only hit that beehive so many times before you get stung really bad. And yes, with, some of these people that have he pardoned were not violent criminals. One was. But these were people who, tax cheats and stuff. And we know how Trump feels about the IRS. So, again, everyone screamed how, Hunter Biden broke, he owed the IRS money and he did all this and he was going to get a plea deal and no way we're going to do that. Yet here we see, and this is what I said, I call him as I see him. And I'm guaranteeing you that if this was you and I, we'd still be, we'd be running our cup up and down the bar, I'm innocent, let me out. That would be the case. That would be the case. So, I kind of laugh and I go, if I was the Democrats, I'd be jumping all over this going, hey, didn't you yell about this guy? And you're letting this guy out. So, and the Christies, the whole thing. Chrisleys, those two, the husband and wife. I didn't even watch the show. I never watched them. I just got such a horrible vibe from them that it just, I can't watch it. Can't watch it. And I don't watch much television. To be honest, I can't tell you the last television I watched. I can't tell you. And that is, over the air broadcasting. I do watch the Disney Channel with my granddaughter. And then I realized watching the old Mickey Mouse cartoons and some of the old cartoons of how much that shaped my life. Interesting. All right. In an article, the Supreme Court may not step in and save Trump's tariffs. Now, to just rehash what I've said on other podcasts that I've done here, is that the Constitution and law, the law states that only the Congress can set tariffs. Except Trading with the Enemy Act. So, this has been vetted and used by Richard Nixon to increase tariffs. And it was challenged. And I think it was, I have it here, I just don't feel like reading. It was some Japanese company. And the tariff was short-lived. Nixon terminated it in 1971 after negotiating a realignment of exchange rates with a group of developed countries. But in the meantime, U.S. importers that paid the additional tax challenged Nixon's legal authority. So, even though he pulled it back down people go, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Just because now you retreated back doesn't mean we're not going to challenge that. We don't want you to do it next month. We don't want any president to do it. But the court concluded that the tariff was legally justified under the TWEA. So that's Treating with the Enemies Act. I kind of remembered this all going down in 1970s and 71 because I'm old. But it would, it didn't mean anything to me, Didn't mean anything. If it meant that an 18-year-old should go braless, then I supported it 100%. So make those bras so expensive they can't afford to wear one. All right, so I'm making jokes. Big deal. It might be off-centered, but come on. We were all young once. Oh, how did I let myself go? How did that happen? How do you look back at your pictures and go, how did I grow another person? But you do, and that's it. And you ain't getting it back. There's no reversing it. So, now, to get on with this, it is my belief and my standing that Trump could set tariffs on certain countries, but not broadly go after everyone. And his stance was, if you ain't for me, you're against me. And you're the enemy. If you're not my friend, you're my enemy. I don't know how that holds up, in a court. In China and Russia and dealing with some, Cuba or someone else, I could definitely see, yeah, you could, trading with the enemy, you could do what you'd like to do. They're the enemy. England, France, Germany, Japan, Canada, Mexico, South America, I don't know. And I think that needed to challenge the president on that is the correct thing to do, and then taking it to the up all the way up to the Supreme Court and let them make the stand. The problem with everything going to the Supreme Court is you're forcing the Supreme Court to be the Congress, because Congress won't do it. That's what's happening. And Trump is doing that on purpose to say, hey, Congress, you don't do your job? Constitution says I do it. I signed an executive order. Hear ye, hear ye. As the words are written, the deed is done. Bing, 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 bing. So when Congress won't or can't do their job, then the president steps in and does it. And on the executive level, meaning executive branch to executive branch, that's the law, baby. As long as it's not in direct conflict of the Constitution. That's the law, baby. Now, this is in direct conflict to what Congress is supposed to do. But if Congress is not going to do it, or Congress refuses to do it, then the president's executive power. But he has to be able to prove that this is trading with the enemy, and they're the enemy. I don't think, I don't think Australia, the United States, Britain, France, Canada are the enemies. Not when they're in the Five Eyes program. So that's a hard sell. I don't think you could. I don't think that stands up. And I think that then brings into question the whole thing, everything you're doing with tariffs. I understand why you did it. I have no problem doing it with China, Russia, unfriendly nations, drug dealing nations, Mexico, Canada. What are they doing? They hit us with it, and we hit them with it. We've been doing that for years. So I don't buy that. I'm looking at my boo boo. So there wasn't an emergency that would require the president. This is the argument to do that now. Our trade deficit, and just on the money that we had to borrow to offset the trade deficits and borrowed money and everything else, is $3 billion per day in interest alone. $3 billion. That's a lot of money, folks. And believe me, if I was president, I'd fix that real quick too. Because you just can't keep kicking that can down the road, which is something I was always in favor with when I was in the union. Kick the can down the road. So we see that this is going to be a potential court. But I think in the end, it's going to be hard for them to say he did anything wrong. And as such, it's constitutional. There's a lot of things that the Democrats are screaming about. One of the things, they want to take the Marshal Service and take that out of the executive hand and put it back into the judicial, or put it to the judicial branch. And they said because, of Trump and everything. Well, if they were always worried about that, why didn't they do that when they were the Democrats and could have done it 4 years ago? So that's why I said I don't always believe the motives of the Democrats. Nor do I always believe the motives of the Republicans. I demand facts. Now, I could have the facts and look at it and go, all right, common sense says to do this. And so I can understand why certain groups do certain things and why certain political things that sometimes don't fit right, but they kind of make sense, and I can get there with it. And I said, again, I call them as I see them. And I would say that 80% of the things that Trump is doing, in principle, I can agree with. In principle. In practicality, you ever try getting the toothpaste back into the squeeze bottle or tube? Ever try to do that? You can. It's going to be all messy and you're going to lose 3/4 of it. So I don't see where some of the things that he's doing is effective. Now, with downsizing the size of the federal government, Joe Biden, all his job numbers, took 31% and gave them government jobs. Government grew by 31%. Tremendous. The only time you saw things like that is when, in times of war. So, I think Trump scaling back the federal government is a good thing in most cases. It's always the exception. And Department of Education ain't one of those exceptions. All right? Most aligned with the left departments in our government. And I'm happy to see it go. I'm happy that you have a Robert Kennedy, and you want to call him, when he was your screwball liberal, you loved him. When he's our screwball liberal, you hate him. And the minute anyone starts talking, well, Trump has a point here, and slow down, let's hear what the man has to say. Oh, that's it. You've been converted. The evil emperor has converted you. We just can't have it. And again, you see Jimmy Kimmel doing it. You see Colbert. I'd love to see Colbert gone. I mean, CBS, once Skydance takes over, God, get rid of this guy. Show old episodes of, Family Feud. So whatever. Take that hour and, put on 2 shows back to back of, How I Met Your Mother and Big Bang. I think you would draw much more of an audience, and your affiliates would make more money on commercial time with them than they did with the Colbert show. Horrible. He's not even funny. He's a clever guy. Not even funny. It's pathetic to watch. Kimmel. I didn't find Kimmel funny when he had the Man Show. I didn't find that sense of humor. It wasn't clever. Where there have been other people that are horrible people. If you listen to them, I mean, Opie and Anthony. The stuff that they would talk about would be, oh my God, you'd have to have. You didn't want your mother in the room. Of course, you wouldn't have your kids listen to it. And, you might not even want your wife in the room when you're listening to it and laughing. And Anthony Cumia's show was brilliant. his podcast, his radio show on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on most of the ABC radio networks. Brilliant. Witty. Spot on. Just a really, really funny guy. The podcast too, and I'm going off here now because I'm going into podcasts. Scott Adams, creator of Dilbert, who is terminally ill right now and still doing his morning podcast, who was a screaming Democrat. I wouldn't say liberal. I'd say he was a moderate Democrat. Now is a moderate Democrat that agrees with Trump. But again, he's not locked in step. He is not locked in step. And those people, I can appreciate. You could be a Democrat and not be locked in step with them and go, hey, I don't think they should be teaching kids that in school. All right. And you could be a Democrat and go, I believe that, in gay marriage. Okay. Because it doesn't affect me. You're not saying, hey, you have to marry someone who's gay. No one is saying that. So, that's fine. But if you believe that, you have to believe everything that the party stands for, then you are locked in step. And that I'll immediately stop talking to you about any of those subjects. It just won't happen. And the same thing goes where, I'm a Republican, right or wrong. I'm not going to talk to you. Because that doesn't work. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have that argument. I want to hear both sides of an argument. I want to hear things that maybe I didn't think of. Well, okay, that's an interesting perspective that I have not thought of, but it definitely, fits into the slice here. So now let me think about this for a minute. And I might go, okay, I thought about it. And this is my answer to that. And that's why I don't agree with it, but it is a plausible, or sometimes I go, I didn't know that. Now that I know that, and that is a truth, and I look and I go, all right, I'm going to change my opinion here. I've done that. I think any reasonable person. But when you get people that go, nope, I hate Trump, I don't care if he... Okay, boom, stop. I said that Biden had done some things that I had agreed with. Obama had done things that I absolutely agreed with. That blow away all the politics smoke. There's a truth. There's common sense. I can get there. And I could do the same thing with Trump. That there are common sense things I could blow away the smoke of politics. And I can see. And there's other things that I do not agree with him on. I just don't agree with him on. You see so much in the news about the 747. Really, that's what you're going to focus on? Take the freaking plane and park it somewhere. Thank you. Thank you for your gift. There, done. Do you know how long it will take to retrofit and customize a 747? Now, I'm sure structurally it's all up to par. But if you were to strip that down to make it Air Force 1, 2, or 3, I doubt if I will be here to see the completion. But take the gift. Accept it for the people of the United States graciously. And that's it. Well, why are you making a fuss out of it? So, I would make more of a fuss of Trump pardoning the head of the Crips. Because he had a change of heart, because he's now a different person. There's a lot of people in prison today who are not the same person that went in there. And when they come out, they can't get jobs. They're scarred. And for some things that are non-violent, they're now scarred. They can't be hired. When you do your time, honestly, you should be square with the House. And how do you make that happen? If I was going to hire a bank teller, I'd like to know if that bank teller was involved in embezzlement. Once bitten, twice shy. But then what does that person do then? How do they get a job? So jail was to punish, but also reform. And you're going to put them into a cocoon. They went in a moth, or they went in a caterpillar, and instead of coming out a butterfly, they come out as an ugly moth that no one wants. Is that right? Hey, consequences. But sometimes you do stupid things and you get caught, and there's consequences. But that's just me. Okay. Now that I've completely gone off topic, and this is now probably an hour and 10 minutes. A new COVID variant is sweeping through China. Here's what to know about NB 1.8.1. And they say it is a variant of COVID-19. Well, everything a cold is COVID. So what they're talking about here is this is a LP 8.1 made up 70% reported COVID cases in the U.S. between April 26th and May 10th. So I think there's only been 20 cases reported. So I don't understand some of this. I've been reading other articles, and I was trying to start to piece it all together, and I probably will do it later on when I read more about it, and piece it all together because it's getting all these skewed data on it. What they are saying, there were reports saying that the current COVID vaccine will give you protection against this. And then I read other ones that it will not. Of course, we all know in the last week, the CDC said no, it's not recommending children, healthy young adults, get the COVID vaccine. So, or people older than a certain age get it. I still say there's so much we don't know about the COVID vaccine than we know. And that the fact that they hid heart problems from us is unconscionable. Where they forced people to get this vaccine. They forced people to get it. You're not going to have a job. You can't go to school. We'll arrest you if you leave your house. Remember that? People were arrested in Florida, in the Keys, for having people over. Can you imagine that? That was under the Biden administration. All the crying about democracy. Remember how they wanted to put people into camps that refused to get the shot? Remember that democracy? Remember Governor Cuomo forcing people into nursing homes? 50,000 deaths. Forget about that, folks. I don't. I don't forget that. I won't forget the lies. The N95 mask will protect you. Yet it says right on the side it won't. Right on the side of the box. This will not protect you from a virus. Staying 6 feet apart. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. You can pick up a book and start reading about viruses. You don't have to be an expert. You got all the information right there. Draw a conclusion. And I said that, and I had people in my family screaming at me. Now, I haven't gone to these people and said, ha, ha. See, I told you. I haven't done that. Because what would it do? What purpose would it serve? And for those people, I hope that in the future, you realize that trust your eyes, trust what's going on, trust what you read and looking up for yourself. And people didn't want to. They wanted they wanted an easy answer. And this was all about control. This was absolutely about control. The government wanted to see how far they could push it. And they found out they could push Americans pretty far. I don't know if that will ever happen again. We were this close to losing all our personal freedoms. And for a while, we did lose our personal freedoms. And when I hear Democrats saying, Trump is taking away our... Absolutely not. Just the opposite. What Trump is doing is he is defining executive power. And I've said it before. Under the executive branch, that power is only limited by the Constitution. If it's not mentioned in the Constitution or not addressed in the Constitution, the president is God in the executive branch. And people scream, oh, how could you say that? That's horrible. It's wrong. That shouldn't be. Well, okay, that's fine. You can have that opinion. But that's not what the Constitution says about the president. So you have a problem with the Constitution. Yeah, we shouldn't have to do it. So you don't want to follow the law because that is the law. So you're not about following the president. He a convicted felon. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Yes, no doubt. And he's allowed to appeal that and try to reverse that. That's also allowed, right? You have to see, and it's coming out. And this December, and we're heading on. I mean, I can't believe it's it's almost June. Come December will be the beginning of the 2026 midterms. Run for the money. And I guarantee you, I'll be doing a show every day on stuff that's going to be coming out. The Democrats know it. I read I'm getting off topic here, but Pete Buttigieg said that if he had a time machine, he'd go back and warn the Democrats where they made a mistake. No shit, Sherlock. And this is the guy that says, I want to be a presidential candidate. If I had a time machine, well, you don't have a time machine, you dumbass. What you do have is a track record of not doing anything. And unless you get a time machine and undo that, you're going to stay with your husband and do talk shows. Because you're not going to get anywhere. Newsom is not going anywhere. Beto O'Rourke, not going anywhere. Stacey Abrams, maybe jail. Literally, there's not a jail big enough to hold her. Might be a truism. There are very few Democrats today that could survive a run. $2028, maybe. I don't know. My crystal ball, wherever it is, got moved. Can't tell that far in advance. 2026. My prediction, you lose even more seats. And you could all roll around and scream, it's the end of democracy. I can't wait to see that. to see the liberals and the Democrats all on television screaming, "This is the end of democracy." If it was the end of democracy, you'd never be able to wouldn't be allowed in front of a TV camera, and we'd never hear from you again. You'd fall like in Russia. You'd fall out of a basement window and die. So, all right. So, COVID back in the news. And it's likely to spread more rapidly and invade our immune defenses more easily than LP81.1. And this is why it needs careful monitoring. Well, any virus should be monitored. But again, I won't trust the government to give me any shot now, even with Robert Kennedy there, because I'm leery of Big Pharma. I have to see some major changes. I'm not getting a flu shot. I haven't gotten a flu shot in years. But I know I had COVID 3 times. And like I said, big fat guy with a heart condition. Still here. Got me sick. First time. Got me real sick. Second time, no. Third time, other than, losing my sense of smell and taste, didn't stop me from eating, folks. But, we're still here. All right. With that, I'm going to say good night. Anyone in South Carolina in the Myrtle Beach area, Socrates Station, on Sunday. It's off the 707 in Socrates. It's having a fundraiser for Meals on Wheels. $10 spaghetti and meatball dinner. Fun and games for children. I know my family will be there, and we will also be bringing food with us, canned food, to make a donation to Meals on Wheels, which we have been giving almost every night since we've been going there in the last couple of weeks. I won't say every night. My wife did forget the other night to bring the cans with her. And I did not remind her, so I was just as forgetful. We were trying to get there before 7 o'clock, and the happy hour meals. I wanted my $6 pierogies. But with that, I'm going to say goodnight, say a prayer. Prayer does work. I am saying a prayer for Scott Adams. Give to a charity. Make sure it's a registered charity. Don't become a victim helping victims. Chris, Rowan, Danielle, Paul, Cannoli. I know they're mad. At least Danielle's mad at me. But Chris, I will be texting you tomorrow. Nothing bad. Papa's always sends funny stuff. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight as I fade to black. I hope this key works today.